Ready, set, Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Rich Dotson. He's Garret Price.
How's it going?
It's going good. We're watching Matt walk out of the studio here.
See ya.
Get out of here. Yeah, yo mama. He's gonna go see his mom. His mom had a little something going on. He's gonna go see his mom.
Good life decision.
He's got a small window to see her, and he goes, dude, anytime you have a chance to go see your mama, go see your mama.
Absolutely.
So we said, get out of here. He's like, are you sure? We're like, yeah.
Yes, leave now.
Well, I mean, I said stay. Garrett said go. So
it's just so I could talk trash about Bo Nix while he's gone.
no, Matt, on this episode. So let's just dive into this one. We're gonna do best buy of the week here.
Yeah, we're gonna do our buy and sell of the week each and every week. Had a lot of good options. We put some out there, and then we kind of talk about it, decide who we want to go with. But our official decision for buy of the week this week, T.J. Hockenson. Players that begin the year on IR typically kind of become a little bit of an afterthought. You know, you haven't seen them on the field in a long time. You don't know what they're doing, how things are moving and whatnot. But the thing that kind of sold me on making T.J. Hockenson the buy of the week is what I've seen out of Sam Darnold so far. Sam Darnold looks competent. I'm not going to sit here and say he looks great. I'm not going to say he's going to end up being an elite quarterback or anything like that. But he looks like he could be a competent NFL quarterback in this offense. And he's getting the guys that need the ball in a timely manner. So with how much this offense targets the tight end position, you know, last year it was over 30% in 2023, which was the third highest rate in the NFL. They want to get the ball to the tight end. So I think once TJ Hockenson comes back, yeah, maybe it takes a week or two, but with how poorly the tight ends have been playing, he could be that shot in the arm for a team where, man, Travis Kelce is just not getting it done for me, or, you know, whoever it is. He could be that shot in the arm. So for me, I think this is the right time to go get TJ Hockenson, because once we start getting to week 5, 6, like the closer he starts getting to come back, then the hype's going to start to build, and it's going to be really difficult to get him then.
Yeah, and looking for more weapons around Justin Jefferson. Sam Darnold's looked good. You remember last year, T.J. Hockenson going into his injury, which was week 16 where he tore his ACL, so it was a late injury. He was tight end 1 overall going that in Kevin O'Connell's offense. He got the extension. If you go back to 2022, he was tight end 2 overall in PPR leagues.
Great.
If you go back to 2021, that was
his last year in Detroit.
It was his last year in Detroit. He was tight end 15 overall, but again, he missed a lot of time. But so he missed time up until week 8. So if you go back out up until week 8, TJ Hockenson was tight end 3 overall time. So when TJ Hockenson is on the field over the last 3 years, he is a top 3 tight end. More so closer to 1 than 3 overall. Reason he got that extension. So for me, you're right, Garrett. I love players that, that start the year on IR or been hurt for a little while, or even the flip script, they go on IR and create windows. Remember, the game of Dynasty Fantasy Football is a game of windows, right? Like, how quick can you get your hand in the window when that pie is freshly baked and get yourself a slice, right? So you smell it, you get that cartoon smell where your nose is following you, right? Like trying to get up in there. So Hockenson right now, you're right, and his value might not come until week 8, week 9, week 10. But the way the tight end market is today, with the elite guys not even producing at a high level, we mentioned before, it only takes a couple big games for a guy to come out and really start to climb the ladder. But for Hockenson, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where he finishes on the year. What matters is what he does for you for that playoff push run, what he does for you in the playoffs. So I think so, too, with the dire needs of tight end help. Right now, there's some guys out there at tight end that you could go out there and offer to get T.J. Hockenson. We mentioned Travis Kelce is a perfect sell. If you could sell Travis Kelce, and hopefully still has name value alone here, with the Isaiah Pacheco news, if I can get T.J. Hockenson for Travis Kelce straight up, boy, am I jumping at. On top of that, Garrett, I would offer a second. I would offer a third on top. I'll give a second and third and Travis Kelce to get T.J. Hockenson today. I would do that. But I think Kelce alone might be close to enough of that. The Isaiah Likely being tight end 1 overall. If I'm going to give up Isaiah Likely for TJ Hockenson, I'm doing it.
Honestly, when he was healthy, like when we were coming into this offseason, now granted, we thought originally that Kirk Cousins was still going to be there.
Yeah.
But I couldn't put Sam Laporta ahead of TJ Hockenson. Like I had him as my top guy before the injury, before the change at quarterback, before all of that. Like I had him as my top guy because he's still young-ish. Like he's in his prime.
Yeah. 26, I think. Something crazy.
Something like that. He's not very old. So he's young. He's a fantastic player, and this is an offense that wants to get him the football. So I think he's, when I see him consistently going behind all of these elite guys, and then all of a sudden you'll see even like Evan Ingram, who's great, don't get me wrong, but like even at times in startups, you're seeing guys like that go ahead of him just because we're afraid of 8 games, 10 games. Like I think we're too short-sighted at times with some guys like that. And so I think before we get too close to him coming back, we need to pounce and get TJ Hockenson.
He's 27 years old.
27.
So he had recently turned 27. But yeah, 100%. I'm all in on this. He's a perfect time to buy. Some of those names we mentioned to get off your roster for him would be fantastic moves for you. Remember, this is Dynasty. It's a long-term play. And you're right. Until he tore his ACL, TJ Hockenson was my tight end 1 overall as well, even over Laporta. So for me, there's a chance if he'd have stayed healthy, you'd have been tight end 1 overall.
Absolutely.
Laporta had that late surge. So he's the buy of the week. There's some good honorable mentions here.
There are.
Chris Olave is a good buy of the week this year, where he's not producing at a high level. His target share is there. He's at almost 38% of a target share. So he's there. He's a great buy. You put some videos out. You're big on Bucky Irvin. Mm-hmm. You can see Rachaad White, even here in week 2, slowly seeing his usage go down. Yep. So far, consistability, it's gone down. It's only 2 weeks, but it's gone down. Bucky Irvin's just way more efficient there. You had Tyrone Tracy as a possible good buy. Mm-hmm. This week I liked Brandon Ayuk as a possible good buy as well. So I think those are all good buys. Without going into detail, we're only going to go one player in detail.
But just names to keep in mind.
Bucky Irvin, Tyrone Tracy, and Brandon Ayuk. But with the Debo news, Ayuk's price just went up.
It probably just went up.
I know you had Ayuk as a possibility before the Debo news even broke.
Exactly.
So let's talk about a sell then. We're going to talk about
sell of the week. There were I joked around. I give 3 options, and we didn't officially go with this guy, but I joked around with Matt, and that's why he walked out. That because I put Bo Nix. But we'll get into the official one for the week. Derrick Henry is the guy that we are having for the sell of the week. He's somebody that if you're just looking at the final numbers, he's had double-digit points both weeks. So you're like, he's been fine. And, this week, a 16-point game, you feel pretty good. But let's keep in mind that Las Vegas has been one of the worst teams against the run over the past 2 seasons. So all of 2023 and then the 2 games in 2024. You put those together, they've been one of the worst teams in football against the run. And Baltimore, their line is in shambles. It is not a good offensive line. Had they been playing anybody with any decent defense against the run, this would not have been a very good game for Derrick Henry. But he ends up having a solid game. But look, even with all of that, when you're going to need Derrick Henry the most in week 16 and 17, he faces the 3rd and 4th best defenses against the running back, according to Fantasy Pros. So there's just so many things stacked up against Derrick Henry where he might disappoint even before that, but best case scenario, I don't see him providing the output you need when you need your running backs to have big games the most. So for me right now, Derrick Henry, even as a contender, which normally we say guys like this are good contender buys and guys that you want to have on your team, even as a contender, I'm still looking to make a lateral type move for a different running back that I have a little bit more confidence in.
Yeah, I'm 100% off of Derrick Henry here, and you're right. Currently sitting at running back 15 in PPR leagues, or not 15, I'm sorry, he is running back in PPR leagues 20. Coming off a big week, though, like you mentioned, with the 16.6 points. It's a good time to strike with the Pacheco news. Find that owner right away. Try to find him. The Kenneth Walker news recently, you can find a Kenneth Walker owner, attack that way.
Maybe even Joe Mixon.
The Joe Mixon way line. If you have the Dynasty GM, get in your app store, download Dynasty GM. You get in the league analyzer. Just sort it to running backs. Who's the weakest at running back? Put in contender mode, right? Mm-hmm. I love to do that. Put in contender mode, look at who's the weakest at running back, and go there. And just pivot, like you mentioned. There's a lot of guys you can probably pivot off of Derrick Henry and even get a little bit of plus, like a guy like James Conner is a good way to go. We mentioned a guy last episode. If you could somehow flip Derrick Henry for J.K. Dobbins, somehow. And honestly, I'd be willing to give
a second
on top.
Yep.
Like if you the move is take Derrick Henry, offer Derrick Henry a second for J.K. Dobbins. There's a chance that people on J.K. Dobbins are looking to get off of J.K. Dobbins because of injury history. And thinking that you might be overreacting here to a couple good games. I'm selling Derrick Henry for that. I'm trying to think of some guys that I would like. Devin Singletary is another player I'd be willing to pivot off of Derrick Henry for. If I can get David Singletary
Montgomery
plus a second, I'd do that straight up.
Yep, David Montgomery.
Right now. Because this offensive line, it's somewhat worrisome for me too with Derrick Henry. And you're right that the matchups right now have been favorable for him. Long term, can Derrick Henry take this beating after how many carries he's had and just repetitively getting hit behind the line of scrimmage here?
Right.
Probably. He did it last year. I mean, I think he was hit behind the line of scrimmage a ton and still found success. He is the guy that keeps on ticking as well. But we're talking about a 30-year-old running back who's had a gazillion carries behind a really bad offensive line. So now is a really good time to pivot before that pivot's no longer in existence. I would love just to be able to get a little bit younger than some of those guys. I think J.K. Dobbins is the perfect person
target
to attack here for Derrick Henry. But I am worried. I have him in my top 12 running backs this year, and I know I don't know, but I thought when we broke him down, like I said, I was a little bit worried about that offensive line there. But for the amount of touches he was going to get,
shouldn't have mattered.
It was a no-brainer. They have Justice Hill there. Can they still work him in? We will see. And you mentioned another option here was Bo Nix. I'm not going to go ahead and jump to conclusions on Bo Nix and say he's a sell yet. I don't like selling rookie because otherwise I'm like, sell Caleb Williams. You know, he doesn't look good.
Sure.
No rookie quarterback has even thrown a touchdown yet in 2 weeks in the NFL.
Which is true.
Which is nuts. So for me, I know you're worried he's a 24-year-old quarterback in Denver, no weapons out there to throw the football to. I'm going to go ahead and pump the brakes just a little bit on Bo Nix and hope he can get caught up in the system and look better.
If somebody offered, or let's say I have Bo Nix on my team, I'm panicked.
Okay.
And I said, I'll give him to you for a second. Would you take it? Would you take Bo Nix for a second?
In a Superflex league?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Even an early second?
Yeah, probably because that's equal value where he went this year.
Okay.
And this was a really strong draft class.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no problem pivoting that because I would just imagine like if Bo Nix went there, same spot this like next year, I'd want him in that. I think that'd be pretty good value there.
See, for me, I'm willing to like reset. Like if I can just hit the reset button and try again next year, I have very, very like the signs that I've seen, like even other quarterbacks that play poorly early, you at least see like, hey, there's a really strong arm here. Or, hey, he's been crazy accurate. It's just bad luck. Or, man, couple boneheaded turnovers. But, like, for me, I have not seen one thing that I'm like, oh, that's exciting. That gives me hope. I have not seen, and granted, I've been the lowest on him of the group.
Yeah.
So it's I'm biased in this when I'm saying this. But there's been nothing that I have seen to give me any sort of confidence that this is going to turn around. And I think this could be easily one of those situations where, man, the Sean Payton experiment didn't work, and Bo Nix goes right out the door with them. They're looking for another guy next year.
No, see, and that's where I'm in on giving a second round pick for Bo Nix. And like, so I'd flip this in. If that's how you feel, that means probably there's at least 30% of other owners out there that probably feel the same way. Like
sure.
If you feel that way. So I would put him in. I'd flip this, go back to the buy section for me. So you're on the sell. I'm going to flip this to a buy and say Bo Nix is a buy then. Because there's people out there that feel the way you do.
Sure.
I'm buying for a second round pick. And I don't even care if it's a higher second round pick. Like I really don't care. For everything that you said is kind of more why I want to buy, right? Sean Payton's in on Bo Nix. He said he was like one of the top quarterbacks on his board regardless. He was a stat to get it where he was going to get. But Sean Payton's not going anywhere anytime soon. This is a coach that gave up a first round pick for,
sure,
and gave like a ridiculous. He still owed like 4 years and like $60 million.
Denver's got the money to do it though. They don't even.
I know they do, but like this is they're gonna see us out for like a year or two, and I'm sure Sean Payton probably came in and said, "Listen, this is a huge reset. I know you paid Russell Wilson. He convinced them to get rid of Russell Wilson and eat $100 million, $80 million, right?
Sure.
So like they trust Sean Payton. And he probably came out and said, hey, this is going to be a process, right? Like they got their quarterback. He's in on Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix is the quarterback this year. I think Bo Nix is the quarterback next year. So for a second round pick to see how a quarterback plays out that I feel is going to be the starter in a super flex league, like I'm okay with that. And I understand it's a risk, but it's no riskier to me than taking a second round pick in next year's draft where it's not even a strong quarterback class, right?
Sure.
Like this year we were fortunate it was such a deep class. Like you can get a quarterback like Bo Nix in the second round.
Round 2, him
you
and
can
Penix.
get Michael Penix, who was a top 10 pick in the second round. We won't see that next year, right? Like so this is one of those weird years. So for me, just go ahead and pass him up after 2 games, which I'm with you. He has not looked good whatsoever. You mentioned he's 4 interceptions, 29th in the league in ADOT per attempt with 3.1. He's got a super hard schedule against the quarterback here. So for me, all that's working against a rookie quarterback. Listen, it's already hard enough to play quarterback at a professional level when you've been playing for a while. Look what Jared Goff's doing right now. We mentioned Brock Purdy last show. Like he hasn't looked efficient.
Sure.
Like I'm going to give this kid, he's an older quarterback, rookie quarterback at 24 years old, but he's still a rookie quarterback. He's still, in my eyes, for how old I am now at 45, he's still a kid, right?
Sure.
That's where I look at these people now. So I'm going to go ahead and give Bo Nix a chance. I'm going to flip this to a buy for me.
Okay.
And I'm going to go ahead and offer a second round pick and see if it gets it done in a super flex league.
Okay.
I understand your concern, but you also didn't like Bo Nix at all coming up.
I did not.
So
I did not. Yeah. So
that's where that is. And that's fair. And listen, I can easily be wrong. And odds are, for how many quarterbacks went, odds are I am wrong. But if I'm ever going to gamble a second round pick, we talk about it all the time.
Sure. The quarterback's a great position to do it on.
A quarterback's the one position you want to do it on.
Sure.
If he's just a starter alone, that's value. And honestly, if he's just okay, say he finishes a quarterback like 26, but he goes into we get to the off season, right? Mm-hmm. And we have an off season, a contender, something happens, another quarterback gets hurt. I could probably easily flip Bo Nix next year if he's still the starter for that second. It might not be as high, but it's still a second nonetheless.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I can still go ahead and flip him for the same value. We always talk about quarterbacks are insulated. Definitely young quarterbacks are insulated, unless you're Bryce Young. But
unless you're Bryce Young,
dude, honestly, there are going to be some truthers out there right now. They'll probably give you a second round pick for Bryce Young and say, hey, man, listen, John Elway and Terry Bradshaw were benched. Former first round picks. Sure. Terry Bradshaw, 1 overall. John Elway, 1 overall. Terry Bradshaw and John Elway are 2 former number 1 overall picks 40 years ago that were benched at one time in their career. They went on to become Hall of Famers.
Sure.
Right? So, is all over for Bryce Young? No, because his team is absolutely horrendous. He went to a team where their GM should be kicked in the nuts because of how bad of a job he did, what he did there.
He's done pretty poorly.
As much, if you go back, we were reminiscing last night. We went back and watched when he got benched, we watched our YouTube breakdown of Bryce Young. I encourage everybody to go back and watch that YouTube clip of us breaking down Bryce Young. It's 14 minutes long. I was happy to see that I poo-pooed all over the Bryce Young pick. My comment was hey, Bryce Young's probably going to go about 1-4, which is where he should go in Superflex leagues.
Yep.
My advice at that time during our rookie breakdowns was if you were on the clock at 1-4, I would highly recommend trading back to 112 or even a high second and getting their first next year and get out from Bryce Young, which would have got you into this draft class, which would have been amazing.
Very happy with. Yeah, and the three of us combined, and I think even Jared as well, have 0 shares of Bryce Young. We don't have any, but we have lots of CJ Stroud shares because we were taking him ahead of
Anthony Richardson.
Bryce Young. We had Anthony Richardson first, I think, and then CJ Stroud.
I had CJ Stroud at that time of that recording. I had CJ Stroud as my quarterback 1.
Okay, and then post draft it switched.
2, and I switched because of the rush ability. Yeah. And my argument during that take was if you're in a 1 QB league, Anthony Richardson's Q.
Sure.
CJ Stroud in a 2 QB league, Anthony Richardson in a 1 QB league.
And you're still not upset if you have Anthony Richardson.
No, not at all. Not at all. So. Listen, I don't like Bryce Young. My concern with him was throwing the ball downfield, throwing outside the numbers. I had a concern with Bryce Young there. I thought he was way too small. I made probably 35 jokes on that podcast about him being too thin. There's no way he weighed at the time. He's a $190. You can't compare him to Kyler. You can't compare him to Baker or any other small quarterback because
they were stout thin. At least.
Yeah. So for me, that's one quarterback. I don't like it all. But even him, like I'm not going to say it's done for, and you could probably still get something back for him. Even some people are like, hey, it's a good opportunity to buy. You might still be able to get a second for Bryce Young. Maybe.
Yeah.
Insulated players. I'm in on Bo Nix. I'm a buy. He's a sell for you. Next segment.
All right.
Hey, Nerd Herd. Dynasty Nerds has an incredible new offer from Underdog Fantasy for new customers. When you sign up as a new customer, you'll get a chance at their new customer free pick. But that's not all. Underdog is also offering incredible deposit bonuses. Use the promo code NERDS when you first sign up, and Underdog will give you up to $1,000 in bonus cash with your first deposit. That's right, $1,000 to kickstart your fantasy football journey. Don't miss out on this fantastic opportunity. Head over to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the Underdog app. Sign up today with promo code NERDS and start your journey to fantasy football glory today. Must be 18, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. In New York, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY. And in Tennessee, call 1-800-889-9789.
What's up? It's me, Lisa. Bose Ultra Open Earbuds are one of my favorites. As a musician, sound is the most important part of the process. I've been so busy and always on the move, so if I can keep my music with me wherever I go, that would keep the inspiration going. The look of the Ultra Open Earbuds remind me of ear cups, so I would style it like an accessory. Check out Bose.com for more.
The Volvo XC60 plug-in hybrid is about performance. Not just on the road, but in life. With not only trunk space, but room to make memories. It's electric, with a backup plan, where the only speed that matters is how fast you can slow down. The Volvo XC60 plug-in hybrid. Performance where it matters the most. Visit volvocars.com/US to learn more.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Let's now Matt won't be here to be able to discuss his anymore.
But we'll read his.
We'll read them.
Yeah.
Especially the second one, I think, is a good one to discuss. But we went in and we've done some ranking debates on the Dynasty Nerds Nerd Herd show. This one isn't as much of a debate as 2 weeks in, we wanted to take a good hard look at our rankings and say, like, what sweeping conclusions have we come to that would be significant enough to discuss? And I think we've got some pretty interesting ones. I know for me, the position that has really been shaken up quite a bit has been the wide receiver position. There's been a lot that has been changed over the first 2 weeks for me. And I know one of your two is also a wide receiver. And specifically, usually when we see these kinds of things, it's guys that move from, 31 to 18 or, we're talking about 3 different players between the two of us that wide receiver wise affect our top 12 rankings. So these are pretty big updates and changes, I would say, in our rankings. So let's start with the first one. I actually put my top 10 on Twitter yesterday, and I was kind of prepared a little bit for some backlash, and it didn't come, which I thought was really, really interesting. But I have now officially moved Malik Neighbors, and for that matter, Marvin Harrison Jr. as well. They're both inside my top 5 now, which means if you're doing the math at home, you're counting, okay, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and CeeDee Lamb. One of those guys isn't there anymore because there's only 5 spots, and that would be 6 guys if both Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors moved in. I actually moved Jamar Chase outside of my top 5. Now, I can understand somebody saying that's a little premature. 2 games, yes, he's missed time. He lost all that chemistry and whatnot. But what I saw from Malik and Marvin Harrison Jr. on tape told me these guys both can be elite assets. Then to already this quickly see them putting up elite games. Marvin Harrison Jr., we talked about it. He had 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, and was just torching the defense. Like, didn't even look like he was having to try that hard. And he was just torching their defense. Malik Neighbors comes off a ridiculous target share game, which was one of the biggest things for him when we were saying he's a guy that is going to be a good fantasy asset. It was how many targets he's going to get in this offense. Well over 100 yards, touchdown last week. I feel confident enough to say already through 2 weeks that I am moving both of these guys inside of the top 5, ahead of guys like Jamar Chase, ahead of Garrett Wilson, ahead of A.J. Brown. All of these types of guys, they are now in my top 5. Rich, how do you feel about that?
Garrett, I love it. I was a coward because I wanted to do that when I updated my rankings. I did move Marvin Harrison ahead of Jamar Chase.
Okay.
I made it very clear a while ago. I moved Amon-Ra St. Brown last year ahead of Jamar Chase. So I wanted to move Malik, but I didn't want to overreact because I do see positive regression coming this week. I mentioned last show from Jamar Chase.
Sure.
But I'm going to give you my current top 12 dynasty receivers.
Okay, let's hear it.
My updates. Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Marvin Harrison Jr., Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors, Garrett Wilson, A.J. Brown, Nico Collins, Jalen Waddle. Now, one of my moments here is, we'll talk about my guy here soon. Obviously, it's going to be, I'm going to talk about Nico Collins to give you a heads up. And the more I think about it, when I go back in here, I'm probably going to move Nico Collins ahead of A.J. Brown and ahead of Garrett Wilson.
Wow.
The more I think about it. So that would put him at wide receiver 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wide receiver. Oh, it'll still be at wide receiver 7. Right around there. And I want to put Malik Neighbors ahead of Jamar Chase, and I feel like I still kind of should because I've never liked Jamar Chase's attitude ever. It's been one of the big things. He's a me first guy. We saw it with him holding out 2 years on his contract. I saw it again this week where he cost his team that was driving down the field. He was arguing, swearing to ref. Joe Burrow went to get him. He kind of shoved Joe Burrow off and kept yelling at him. I don't like those kind of receivers. I just feel like they're always they can get in their own heads. They can. It's one of the complaints about DK Metcalf, right? You can throw him off his game sometimes by just getting his head that way. So Garrett, I don't argue that whatsoever. Having Malik Neighbors in the top 5, and I think I'm gonna go back in my rankings and update and put him ahead of Jamar Chase too. When you look at Malik Neighbors so far, and you're right, and what I'm about to say is because he's been heavily targeted. But the whole reason I liked Malik in the first place, and talked about him when we were talking about the wide receiver 1 shows you and I were talking about, and you got me to move in my top 12 was target share, and he's seeing it right now. He's coming in right now, and he's seeing a target share that is absolutely ridiculous. He leads the league in target shares with 35.7% of league's target share. Right now, he's coming in, his target share leaders, he's a target share leader. He leads the league after 2 weeks in target share with 39%. Right? Then it was Cooper Kupp with 36%. Godwin's third at 33%. Amon-Ra St. Brown at 31%. And then Rashee Rice is somebody we talked about last show at 30%. That's how he's a number 1. And Malik Neighbors is coming in seeing the most that anybody's ever done in the history of the NFL for the most part. I think his targets or his receptions coming in the NFL are the 4th most of all time in somebody's first 2 games. So for me, I have no problem putting Malik in your top 5, and I'm going to do it as well when I get a chance to, because if you said right now, Jamar Chase, and listen, the whole reason I have the word consistability, it's fun. I like the word. I'm not going to get rid of it. I'm going to use it every day on this podcast. Not every day, but forever going forward.
Sure.
The reason I came up with it was because of who?
It was for
Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
He's slowly moving down my ranks because my problem is, I've said this on the show before, is it's not like I don't believe Jamar Chase is a fantastic wide receiver 1, a good wide receiver 1. He doesn't have the finishes or the consistability of these other guys. Amon is more consistent, right?
And you're talking more on a week-to-week basis.
Week-to-week basis, yes. And that's what I said. I know he's more, the right word is more consistent. It's more fun to say consistability.
Oh, way better. Way better.
The consistability term is based off of Jamar Chase. His ADP and his value doesn't equal his consistability. And Amon Ross St. Brown, consistent. He bounced back after week 1, saw a shitload of targets, and dominated out there as a wide receiver 1. CeeDee Lamb, there's no question there with CeeDee Lamb. Justin Jefferson, there's no question.
Even with a new quarterback.
And now with the emergence of Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr., I look for their consistability to be consistent. So for me, yes, I'll take those guys ahead of them.
Yeah.
And once Stephon Diggs leagues, who we didn't see his target share go down up week 2, I think Nico Collins is entering that range. And listen, I'm going to tell you this, Garrett.
Tell me.
Which is Looney Tooney. So go ahead and call me Bugs Bunny. I think Nico Collins is closer to passing up Jamar Chase than Jamar Chase is passing up Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr.
Wow.
And we're splitting hairs.
We are.
These are all stud muffins.
These are
right?
all very good wide receivers.
So pick your poison. But when you go back and look at the ups and downs on a week in, week out basis, you're going to see Jamar Chase looking like a kiddie coaster. And you're going to be like, oh, look at these other guys. Just real consistent, right? Just riding the high peak of that coaster. So I have no argument there whatsoever.
You brought up Nico Collins, and I posted the screenshot of my rankings yesterday, and they sound, at this point, it sounds like they might be identical, Rich.
Oh, really?
For our top 10. Because here's what I had, and you can see it right there. I posted it. I've got Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Jamar Chase, then Nico Collins. I moved him up as well. And he's what I saw these past 2 weeks from Nico Collins covered any even minor concerns that I might have had about him. Because, look, I like Tank Dell. I think Tank Dell's a good player.
You take Nico Collins.
Stephon Diggs, he's been a really good receiver for a really long time.
Past tense, baby.
But Nico Collins looks the part. He was targeted the most in both games. He had the most yards both games. And he's tied to an elite young quarterback. Like, this is not changing. This is not going anywhere. He's got the size. He's only 25 and a half, so he's still very young. Like, there are really good days ahead for Nico Collins. So it's funny because we talk about these big movement swings, and we're in lockstep. Like,
wide receiver 7 for me. So he's a big movement for you too.
Wide receiver 7 for me.
I put a tweet out. I wrote, the fact that Nico Collins is tied to CJ Stroud for the foreseeable future is Dynasty gold. Yep. And there's something they put out on the TV when they're covering that game on the night game.
Sunday Night Football, yeah.
Was the comparison to Andre Johnson. They did that and my midsection tingled. And I was like, goodness, I loved Andre Johnson. I was a huge...
He was a great player.
My 20-year-old Dynasty League, it was my first like big trade I made that I went all in, like in Andre Johnson's rookie year. At the time I gave up who was a big Seattle? Sean Alexander.
Okay.
I gave up Sean Alexander, Derek Mason,
who
for the Baltimore Ravens at the time was their last wide receiver 1, by the way. And I think something else, maybe even like Todd Heap or something. And I for Andre Johnson, like at the time. And it was like fantastic. Like, so like I always loved Andre Johnson because remember he started his career up kind of like banged up a little slow. Sure. So I saw that and I was like, yeah, that big body receiver. And then Nico Collins goes out and makes that amazing one-handed catch on the sideline for the first down. It was absolutely amazing. You're right. He's done everything he needs to do to earn that contract, which is now a value contract in
Absolutely.
the NFL. Good thing it was only a 3-year deal.
Yeah, he'll get paid again very soon.
Enough to show me that he's going to be with CJ Stroud week in and week out, be a wide receiver 1. Wouldn't surprise me if he finishes higher than Jamar Chase this year. I moved him to wide receiver 7. If I was real bold, and I'll tell you what, I need to see Jamar Chase in week 3 against a real doo-doo butter defense in the Washington Commanders go out there and produce at a high level with no T. Higgins. Because if he does not, Garrett, I'm pulling down those pants. He's going to get a little spank. And I'm moving Nico Collins ahead of Jamar Chase. I'll do it. I ain't scared. I was scared to do Malik, but you convinced me. Like, if Garrett can do it, I can do it.
I can do it.
I'm a bump up.
Power in numbers, baby.
So my big power rank up seems like you too, was I moved Nico Collins to wide receiver 7.
So we're in lockstep. So what do you think about this? So right after A.J. Brown at 9, things are very up in the air for me.
Yeah.
And one of the guys, after looking at the target share, how he's looked in this offense, how he's being used in this offense, even though there's the off the field stuff that still scares me and we don't know what all is going to come down for it, I moved Rashee Rice all the way up to my wide receiver 12. So he is a wide receiver 1 for me. And I wasn't even, how do I put this correctly? Because it's going to sound negative towards Rashee Rice, and it shouldn't, because he's amazing. But like, I wasn't necessarily sold on him as a rookie, as a player. I thought watching his tape, he was okay, but he played not as quick as he should. He tried to be this physical receiver, and he can get open. Why doesn't he do it more? He had confusing tape for me. Then I saw him as a rookie, and I liked what I saw, but it was just the same route over and over, and teams couldn't cover it. And we saw a lot of that week 1 too, but week 2, he made some more big plays. And look, it's a function of this offense. They can seemingly do some of the same things over and over and over, but they still make it work. And when you're tied to Pat Mahomes, the guy is a magician. I mean, he's an absolute magician. And if he says, hey, you're worthy of getting 8, 9, 10 targets a game, then that's worthy of being a wide receiver. Like, it truly almost doesn't even matter who it is. If you say, I'm getting 9 targets a game from Pat Mahomes, okay, I'm going to move him to my wide receiver 1. And that's what he's getting. So we'll see what happens with all the stuff that happened this offseason. Maybe he misses some time next year because of it, whatever, who knows. But at the end of the day, the results are the results, and he's putting up points. And so I'm willing to sneak him into my top 12.
Yeah, being like top 6 in target share. There's only he's the only player. He's the last player in with seeing at least a 30% target share.
Bonkers
in his team, Rashee Rice. So he's seeing 30%. Like I mentioned, Amon-Ra 31, Godwin 33, Kupp 36. He's done for now, and obviously Neighbors at 39%, which is bonkers, right? I have Waddle there ahead of him.
Okay.
There, I moved Michael Pittman down pretty significantly.
I did too, unfortunately.
So I did move Rashee Rice up. I don't know if he's right behind Waddle. I know he's in that range.
I have Waddle at 10, and then for some reason I can't get this thing to load right now.
It's
okay.
But you're right. To me, he's in that. You're talking about a tier for Rashee Rice, and I have no argument with it. So like, if I say I like Waddle at 12 and you like Rashee Rice, I'm okay with it, right?
Sure.
Like if you like, I'm trying to think who else would be in that range there. Devontae Smith.
Smith's another one that could be up there. Yep.
That you like, then I'm okay with it. So the fact that you moved him up there, that's fine. I mean, to me, if we see a little, Jordan Love comes back and we see a little bit more on Jaden Reed, Rashee Rice could be in that, Jaden Reed could be in that tier there. Some people might love DK Metcalf. Obviously I would take Rashee Rice over DK Metcalf. He'd be in that tier there. So it comes down to eye of the beholder for Rashee Rice. I do not argue it whatsoever. If you want to take Rashee Rice in the top 12, he definitely deserves so. Currently sitting right now in PPR leagues, he is wide receiver 13 on the year with 17.9 points. So he even matches the value that you give him overall Dynasty League. But you would take the youth tied to Pat Mahomes, all of that would equal to wide receiver 12. So I do not argue that one whatsoever. The next guy I got on my list here was, it's not a crazy jump. It's probably pretty consistent now, but I put a tweet out there. I talked about it last week.
You're ready to do it after week 1, yeah.
And I did it. I did it before this week, too. So before
this week, it took me one more week, but I did it, too.
I moved Brock Bowers to tight end 1. I saw some comments on there, like on Twitter when I posted my tweet. I said, right after the podcast, I was like, you know what? He's tight end 1. And some people were like, oh, after 1 week, it's ridiculous. So I wrote back. I was like, no, it's not after 1 week. It's after 3 years of tape of him going to Georgia, being the dominant weapon on the field, being the number 1 guy, a national championship caliber team with awesome weapons on that team already. With the Ladd McConkeys, the Adonai Mitchells. Adonai Mitchell was there. How many times did I say It's like one thing that really bothers me.
Yeah, he started at Georgia and then he moved to Texas.
No, it's a thing I do. I say and it drives me nuts when I hear you say it, and I got to stop doing it.
You're good.
So for me, this is I think not only do I think he's tight end 1 from what I'm seeing how he's being used, right? Like you look at some numbers here when it goes to Brock Bowers. So far, Brock Bowers in 2 weeks, he's seen 17 targets, has 15 receptions, 156 yards. That's the most yards for a tight end to start his career in the 2000s, right?
Yep.
This is somebody who already, when it comes to target shares with Devontae Adams, he's right there in target share. Devontae Adams seeing 25.4%, Brock Bowers 23.9%.
And if you're a tight end that you're getting over 20% target share, that's an absurd number for a tight end.
It's absurd.
So you're absolutely right. You get the youth, you get what I think is going to be fairly consistent target share, fairly consistent production from a team that doesn't have a lot of other weapons. Like it all lines up beautifully. I mentioned it on the first show. He's the only tight end through 2 weeks to have double-digit points both weeks. The only one. Like he's standing out from the crowd very early, and there was a reason he was a first-round pick at tight end.
And not only is he in tight end 1, I saw someone else put this on Twitter either yesterday. I think it could have been Dynasty Zoltan. Could have been somebody else. I can't remember. I thought it was Zoltan. Maybe it's not, though. But somebody's like, not only is he tight end 1, but he's tight end 1 in a tier alone. And I was like, yeah, you know what? He is right. And this is not one of those takes where it's like, just again, this is not an overreaction from just 2 weeks of what he's doing. He's looking good and scoring double-digit points. It's everything he's done since he stepped on the field at collegiate level in the SEC as an 18-year-old and dominates the best player on offense on national championship Georgia, right?
And it's the same kind of thing with us moving Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors up. It's not just these games. It's everything they did before that. I remember when we were, and this was even before I was on the show, but I remember you talking about it, and it was the same for me. There was a reason that right away Zeke Elliott was running back 1. There was a reason that right away Saquon Barkley was running back 1. It's not just because they have a good first week. It's because they were incredible in college, went to situations that make sense for their usage, and we expect them to continue what they've been doing. So sure, if you want to say like, hey, I don't want to be overreactionary, cool. Just don't expect to get those guys. You won't. Sometimes you have to play it a little bit riskier with guys that have not taken a snap in the NFL yet, but you trust the tape or you trust the analytics. And if it's a good one, it's probably both. They probably line up well with both. And you go with that because otherwise so you got to take Brock Bowers somewhere between, in a super flex league, somewhere between pick 5 and 8, typically.
Sometimes 9.
Sometimes.
Yeah, but 5 through 8.
5 through 8 typically.
And a lot of times on the back end of that. Like Bowers end up, like when it was all said and done, like with the JJ McCarthy and stuff, like Bowers ended up slipping in some drafts. So I ended up getting like 4 shares of Bowers. Okay. I'm extremely happy with.
So today, double that. Like you're having to now pay at least 2 firsts to get Brock Bowers.
Yeah. So if you go,
at least.
And let's talk about that for a minute. If you go back in a super flex draft, right? Rookie draft today, tight end premium. Call it 1.5. If it's, and then I want to go to extreme because I started 2 new leagues, the anniversary league and my best ball league this year. Okay. I made a tight end premium where it's 2 points per tight end, but just call it 1.5. Where does Brock Bowers go?
I mean, I still think for now, Caleb and Jaden would go ahead of him.
Yeah. And dude, listen, I saw people, they're arguing right now, people would take Marvin and Malik ahead of Jaden and Caleb. But let's just call those guys, let's call them the top 4.
So those 4.
Caleb, Jaden, Marvin, and Malik. You would
and
take
then I think he's
Bowers.
Consistently the next one.
I think I'll take him 5. Over
I think every time.
Quarterback and over Rome Odunze.
Yes.
5.
Yes.
Which is crazy because the 2 receivers we talked about are already in our top 5 of startup receivers, which is juice. But like,
it's bonkers.
Okay, let me flip the script. 2 points per reception.
Man. I mean, you could argue with his slow start, and this is where the reactionary part comes in, but you could argue with his start over Caleb Williams.
You could argue he's 1-1.
You could.
1-1. Because at that point, remember, they drafted him to be a weapon in this passing game. In a 2 point per reception, he should consistently be a 20-point player.
Yeah. Yeah, because right now he's averaging 15.3 points in his first 2 games. At 2 points per reception, I mean, yeah, he's averaging over 20 points.
I'll tell you what he scored, because let me go in my league here where he has.
Okay.
We're playing that way where it's 2 points per reception, and I have Brock Bowers. So matchup here in week 2, Brock Bowers scored 27.8 points in week 2 with 2 points per reception. In week 1, Brock Bowers scored 17.8.
Yeah, so he's averaging a little over 20 points a game.
He's averaging 20 points per game, and it's going to get better.
Yep.
So in a 2 point per reception, I take Brock Bowers 1-1. Share of his own.
I could understand the argument for that. I
offered Trey McBride, and listen, nothing. I don't think it was anything great. You might have been a guy like Christian Kirk on top for Brock Bowers, but Trey McBride, right?
Sure.
Like arguably, some people's eyes, tight end 2, tight end 3, and the person wrote back, "This is even close." And I was like, in my head, I'm going,
I get it. You're right.
That's why I'm making the offer, buddy. Like, there's the player I want.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check you have the tickets in your wallet first before you drive 2 hours to the big game. Seriously, you had one job. Now the closest you'll get to the 50-yard line is parking lot D. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
George Clooney and Brad Pitt's new movie Wolves is on Apple TV Plus September 27th.
That's where I want you to be now.
So if you want to see George Clooney and Brad Pitt, go to Apple TV Plus.
You got to start the story there.
Or if you want to see Brad Pitt and George Clooney, go to Apple TV Plus.
I am enjoying the show.
And if you want to see their new movie Wolves,
You can't do it, I'm going to help you out. I can do it, so do it.
definitely go to Apple TV Plus.
Admit it, it's cool. Okay, fine, it was very cool.
Wolves, streaming September 27th on Apple TV Plus. Rated R.
Sephora stores are everywhere you are. So just pop in when you need a brown lip to match your 90s playlist. A confidence boost before your interview? Or a last-minute gift for mom's birthday. There's always a Sephora near you. Just pop in. Use our store locator to find your local Sephora or Sephora at Kohl's.
Bring fun to life with the Instax Mini Link 3 smartphone printer. It's easy to transform your everyday moments into colorful Instax mini prints straight from your smartphone's camera roll. And with the new Click to Collage feature, you can create the ultimate in-app photo booth experience. Instax Mini Link 3. Don't just take, give. Click or tap now to learn more and shop.
So let's talk about Matt's guys here real quick.
Yeah.
He moved Cooper Kupp down from wide receiver 38 from a top 24 guy. Makes perfect sense.
Not a big surprise.
This is like his fourth ankle injury.
Yeah.
The Kupp's had. He's over 30. It's a high ankle. He's going to be out for at least 6 weeks at minimum. His days are, and this team's awful. His days are numbered. And then he moved Ryan Robinson up from running back 45 to running back 22. And I like that too, Garrett, because when you look at Brian Robinson, his carry share over Austin Eckler has been pretty significant, right? Like
they've really focused, for whatever reason, they have really keyed in on giving him the ball.
And he's producing. He's getting 74% of that share. Austin Eckler is getting 26% of the share. But what's crazy too is like he's getting 13% of the targets as well. So he's getting involved in the target share. In the red zone, it's been almost 50-50. I mean, there's not a lot of options here, to be fair, because they're not scoring a ton there. But he's getting 55% of the carries, 45% for Eckler. But really, like, Brian Robinson's been real efficient. 123 of his 133 yards were after contact.
Yeah.
So Brian Robinson's looked really good. He went to running back 22. I moved Brian Robinson up my dynasty ranks as well. If you need running back help, probably a good value. Probably go out there and get for. Again, I'm not going to talk in a vacuum. It's so hard to say. Give this up for Brian Robinson. Look at your team. Download the Dynasty GM.
Absolutely.
Use that tool. I mean, remember, not only is Dynasty GM great now for the league analyzer this time of year for making trades, the reason we built that was to facilitate trades quicker, right? Like nothing's worse than looking at your team like, oh, I need a running back and going through all 11 teams and saying who's strong at running back, who's weak. By the time you get to the 11th team, you forgot who was the first team.
Absolutely.
The league analyzer is going to give you a bird's eye view of that. You're going to get your player shares, free agents, the trade calculator, where you rank amongst your leagues. You put a contender mode. You can put it in Dynasty mode. You can set your own rank set in the Dynasty GM, and the whole app will work off of that. We just added ESPN. I don't think it's released yet, but it's in beta mode, so it should come out literally in the next week.
Huge.
ESPN's been added to the Dynasty GM. We just added the League Optimizer for your weeks. Somebody tweeted me yesterday. It was yesterday or the day before. Hey, man, I've used the League Optimizer now 2 weeks in a row. I've changed my lineup to what it said. I'm 2-0 because of the League Optimizer.
There we
go.
go.
We have a League Optimizer those projections will be different than sleepers and MFLs and ESPNs and Flea Flickers. So the Dynasty GM, in my opinion, remember, all the Nerd Herd memberships that come in, we put all that money back into development, right? We have so much more to come. Right now, the Dynasty GM to me is the number one tool that you can have playing Dynasty Fantasy Football. You can have it for the price of a cup of coffee right now.
Still such a good deal.
I think there's a promo code going out right now too. I can't remember what it was, but it's like
I think it's Football 2024.
Football 24 or Football 2024. If you find it across our ads,
and it's going to be getting shut down soon. So if you want to get on it, like you need to get on it now.
Yeah, it was in the commercial ad. You got to find one of our commercial ads. It's like giving you 20% off.
There's even a banner on the website. If you go to the website, there's a banner.
There's a banner. Check it out. I am telling you, get in there and use the tool for a month. You can actually download the app for free and use it like in a generic mode for free. But for the price of a cup of coffee,
you'll want all the features.
Yeah, for the price of a cup of coffee, download the app. Pay the price. Again, if you use 20% off, you're paying for literally not even a really good coffee at Starbucks, but like a nitro brew coffee, cup of coffee. They'll give you a month. It's going to give you 33% of your fantasy football season going forward. And use the app. Upload all your teams on all the platforms. Have them in one spot. Use the League Optimizer. Use the Analyzer. Use the Trade Calculator. And then upload your own personal ranks. Adjust them rank weekly. See how it compares to the Dynasty Nerds. And then switch it to yours. It's all so simple to do in the app.
Absolutely.
I encourage everybody to get out there. Download the app. It's the best tool in Dynasty Fantasy Football today, and there's no argument you can make with me because I'm going to call you a liar because I'm biased.
Absolutely. And don't forget to leave the show a rating too. Love getting those ratings for our shows. Really helps. People are looking for Dynasty content. Helps make sure that we're at the top, giving them the best information possible.
Rating reviews on iTunes, anywhere you find the show. We love it. We're only 2 away from like another even number. I think almost like 1,700 reviews,
nice.
Which if you look at Dynasty shows,
that's crazy.
It's hard for people to get we have a lot of reviews, which is great. Yeah. So if you don't want to leave anything less than a 5-star, keep that opinion yourself. We don't need it. But we would appreciate all listeners if you can, get on there, leave us a rating and review. It really helps the show a ton. Check out our YouTube content. Garrett's putting that out it feels like every day, dude. You're putting out a new YouTube clip out there with some really good content on YouTube. So we try to make sure, listen, we're a Dynasty website. We create tools, but our job is to create content, right? Give you the information. We try to make it as entertaining. Our show's different than other shows. We understand that. We might not be your cup of tea for everybody, but when I'm on here, I say stupid shit. That's just what I do. You put out stuff there that is not as stupid, right? But I try to give actionable, and I'm right more than I'm wrong. So
you're 100% are. And
I feel good about it.
To be fair, you're the biggest reason people come and stay.
God bless America. God bless everyone. I hope you all get away through this week uninjured.
Yes.
Healthy. I hope our injury show is really small. It won't be. Because
I mentioned another 40 minutes.
Another show. I was like, a lot of these injuries besides Pacheco's not super long term. Kupp's a little bit longer, but no ACL tears or anything. I cursed us.
You cursed us.
That's fine. Call me Rich Hex. That's fine too. We'll be back next week with more Dynasty greatness, hopefully. And if you are joining the Nerd Herd for this 1 month of that cup of coffee, you can check out our Nerd Herd show this week. We're going to do a mailbag. Garrett's going to get a whole bunch of questions from the Nerd Herd, which is in our Discord channel, which you get access as part of the Nerd Herd as well, and talk to a whole bunch of like-minded Dynasty individuals. We're going to do a mailbag, and I'm sure, listen, we're already 2 weeks in. I'm sure the Nerd Herd has got a ton of questions. Those are great shows.
Tons of questions.
We'll be back with our injury show next Monday.
See ya.